So when you're happy, you don't worry about anything. Seriously. So that's what you want to do. You want to be happy, and best way to do that is to smoke, rockin' the ganj. I heard some guy say that. I'm gonna rock the ganj now that I know this is really cool. And all of the people in America, if you I don't know, whatever, if you see this video, then you'll know what I mean. Because I think everybody is slowly but surely coming to the point of saying, you know what, this is tough, this society. Maybe I do need to smoke a little joint, and maybe the government's not helping me by preventing that. Because they're fucking me up on one side and they're taking away my medicine on the other. So I'm like raw nerves. That way they can manipulate me, they can frighten me, and they can, take away rights. But the threat of, terrorism, it's just all their own construction. Seriously, they did that. Not you and me. I didn't do that, but the government did. They went and attacked. They went in and screwed around with those people. What the hell are you going over there trying to change people's religion? That's not the purpose of a government. It's not to wage war. That's not a waging war. War is not to be waged. It's defensive only. And if everybody understood exactly what I'm saying, it would never come about. It's only because of the willingness of people to fight that fighting occurs. But if you understood power is strength, and strength is confidence, and your truest, strength comes through joy. That's where your real strength comes, because joy is consistent with confidence. You're not happy unless you got everything together. If you're happy, that means you have no needs, not because you've suppressed them, but because you've fulfilled them completely. You're filled up. Because you know what does it? And I'm filled up. I'm completely filled up. I'm really, really filled up. So it's coming out my ears and my mouth. It's coming to you, coming out my eyes, and I'm seeing everything. And this is great. This is really great. I don't even know what else to say. So that's the point. The covenant is between God and man, and it's there. And all the other covenants that are going down in time, the covenant with Jesus, the covenant with Moses, the covenant with Abraham, the covenant with Noah, all of those are not prefigurements. It's not like they prefigure this. They're reflective of this. So this agreement is, it's here. It's a couple hundred years and no one's seen this yet. Well, that's why I'm saying I'm a special person. I'm not going to... Well, I'm telling the truth. I really am a special person. I am exactly what I'm saying I am. And that's why I'm discovering this stuff. That's why these huge, extraterrestrial craft have come over my house like that. And there's a lot more happening that you don't even know about. And it's because I am who I am. Because I work for God. That's all I do. And I teach the truth. And that's what the truth is. The truth in this instance is absolutely irrevocable. The American Church of Religious Freedom. That's the truth. And all that implies. And as time goes on, I'm sure that a lot of people will think about that. And I will continue to think about it. And I have. And I'll write stuff down and I'll talk about it, and I'll get it out there so everybody can think about it. Because once you think about my stuff, you can't get around it unless you feel mad. Unless you feel mad about it. I don't want to hear that. That's the only way you can get around it, because there's no way to argue around me. There isn't. It's impossible. I know that makes you think I'm arrogant and annoying, but I'm not. I'm being humble. And humility is to make less what is too large, but it's also modesty, actually. Humility is that's not really appropriate. Modesty is really to they say everybody thinks to make less what is too large, but how about to make more what is too little? So to be right on the money is to be modest, and I'm being right on the money. It's like I tell people I have a master's degree. When I was younger and I was first hanging out with all the hippies and I was, dealing marijuana and stuff, and, I had to learn how to do that from 16-year-olds, because my master's degree and my, stint with working for IBM as a systems engineer and all that other stuff, that didn't have any relevance down on the street with the people. Yeah. So what had relevance is just practicality, and that really is, what it comes down to is I'm a practical person. I got my master's degree in 1968, and I took off on everybody. I went to Woodstock. I've traveled the country. I've been in the penitentiary. I've seen everything. Why? Well, I work for God, and I know that. I've talked about this before to my friends, and I think I made a tape about this. Yeah, a video I did. When I was in 1978 in June, I was in my living room and smoking a joint, and I was like babysitting. My daughter was just little Christine, just born the previous April 3rd, 1978. She was in the front bedroom sleeping, and my wife was working downstairs in the building we were in. It was an electrical contractor, and we rented out the top floor as a living space, and I had the actually basement as my business. I did furniture restorations, actually antique furniture restorations, high-end, old-fashioned, real old stuff. And so I'm up in the living room, and I'm babysitting because Bobby's down in the office working. And to be quiet, I got my headphones on, and I'm standing there, and I'm listening to music, and I'm dancing around. And I always used to dance. I started dancing when I was very young, and as a matter of fact, when I was in college, I took jazz ballet. I was in West Side Story for a long time, summer stock and things. So I've done a lot of dancing, and so, I'm dancing, and I'm getting really high when I dance. I'm smoking. I got the headphones on. I'm listening to the album It's Only Rock and Roll by the Rolling Stones. It's only rock and roll, and I like it. And I'm only listening to it on one side because I have it on my record player set with the arm up so that it'll just keep playing it over and over again, So I'm dancing along, and all of a sudden, as I'm in the middle of my dance, like these two arms, it came down on my shoulder blades, and they pushed me down to my knees. And then when I got on my knees, and I wasn't in. This was daytime. I was not there anymore. I was in darkness, and I saw in darkness a light went on, and it was like me when I was 17 years old. And I'm on this retreat I did when I was a senior in high school, Catholic high school. I went through all Catholic schools, including Catholic college, so I'm definitely a Catholic dude, educated. Anyway, so I'm looking at myself, and God is talking to me in the form of I'm kneeling there, and He's like a light I'm looking at, and I'm kneeling, and God is asking me if I will allow certain things to happen. So He's naming them off. Will you let this happen? And I said, and I was saying, I'm like kneeling straight up. I'm 17 years old, and I'm, saying, yes, Lord, to everything. And then starts asking me stuff about some very tragic stuff that occurred to me in my life that was at the time, was very painful. And here I am when I'm 17, agreeing to let that happen. Well, up here in the future, where I'm watching this thing from, I was overwhelmed with many feelings, and the least of which was I was crying because I was realizing that I've always worked for God. I never did anything wrong ever in my life, never ever. And I was so happy to know that. I was so happy to see why what was happening, because what's happening in my life is coming out of the Alpha Omega, and God was just asking me to agree to it. It was going to happen anyway. Seriously. But I didn't know that. And then when that happened, and when I was 17, then He disconnected me from that memory, because I couldn't have that memory if I was going to do it. So then, from that point on, I was, from Easter time, that was Easter week, 1961. From that point on, I've been totally a slave of God. I've been His slave. That's all I've done. Every breath I take, every thought I have, everything that's coming out of me is there. And this is where God showed me that when, that was 1976. I was like 33 or 30, so 40, I don't know, 33, yeah. And so when that was all done, then the light went off, and then the pressure was off my shoulders, and the music was still going, and all of a sudden I'm hearing it, and I stood up, and I was going to dance, and then all of a sudden I was lifted off my feet, and I was not here, and where I was the most astounding vision I've ever had in my entire existence. And what I saw was this: I saw Jesus Christ on the cross. I was above him, floating in the air, and I'm looking down at him, and his head was down, and he was totally drenched with blood. The tops of his shoulders and his arms, there was not a patch of skin visible. Totally glistening in the sun, and the blood was starting to change colors because of the sunlight and the dusty ground. And I floated there. I don't know how long I looked at him. Probably a million years. Think I'm kidding? I'm not. Because then I was back in my room, and I was completely astounded, because all I'd done was smoke a joint. I didn't take any acid or do anything strange. And yet then, in just that little bit of time, I found out that absolutely what I was doing, that it was verified by a vision of seeing Christ on the cross, dead on the cross, drenched in blood, unlike anything anybody ever saw before. I didn't mean to talk about all this stuff, but it's really important to understand that this foundation of the church in July 4th of 1776 is right out of the Alpha Omega. So for us to get involved and agree with it means that we ride the short ride. We get the ticket, we have fun. And I'm not going to say what happens if you don't do it, because I'm not like that. I don't believe in negativities. I don't want anything negative to happen to you. I really don't. I don't at all. Absolutely not. I do not want anything to happen negatively to you or to anybody. I pray about that all the time. I truly do. And I practice, displace all negative worrisome thoughts with positive, hopeful thoughts generated by faith. I do that, and I stay that way, and that's who I am. So that's funny. That's the phone ringing right then. I'm not going to answer the phone, but I said just that's who I am. Anyway, maybe that's a signal that it's time for me to end this. Yeah, I will. That's the end of it. God bless you. Really, God bless every single one of you that listen to this, and I hope and pray that you do what I'm asking you to do, that you give up your crap. And that's all it is. If you're carrying some religion around, that's a bunch of shit. You're not being American. That's the point. You got to give up that shit for being American, so we're all in this together, and we're all equal. Because if you're carrying your religion, we're not equal. If I'm carrying my religion, if we're all doing that, we're not equal. We have to be equal, and that's the most important part of equality, is how you feel about God, because that's what you all base your lives on, whether you want to admit it or not. So it's a combo thing here I'm doing. I'm teaching you that God is good, and you have to think like that in order to understand reality. That's it. You got to think like that. And I'm saying, if God is good and you think like that, you should be smiling. You should be like me. You should be laughing. Just because of... You should be laughing. You should be laughing because you know me. that there's a remote chance that maybe I'm truly telling the truth, and that happy days are here. You know what I'm saying? I mean that. I know they are. I would like you to get it. You don't need to feel it. You just need to think it.